today back in Washington, D.C. We welcome to our microphones Les Tremayne fell as a child, and they never found out who tipped over the crib.
I just felt that.
Let me introduce the panel. Parley Baer, who played Chester on CBS Radio's Gunsmoke. Daws Butler, who's the voices of such people as Huckleberry Hound and Yogi Bear, who worked for years with Stan Freberg. In fact, appeared with Stan on many of his famous parodies, including the one we're going to hear later of Arthur Godfrey. And Les Tremayne, one of the veteran names in the world of radio. Les, a regular on Jack Armstrong, I Love a Mystery, and a whole bunch of other things. Parley Baer?
Right.
Explain that name. That's a crazy name, Parley.
Well, that's better than Hercules Blodgett, I guess. I don't know.
Parley. I never met a Parley.
Well, it's a Mormon name, one of which I am not, but I was born in Salt Lake City, and I think it was a compromise name. My dad's name was Charles, which of course became Charlie. He abhorred juniors, and a friend of my mother's suggested Parley as a compromise, and I've been more or less stuck with it.
How long did you work in radio?
How long did I work in radio? I did my first commercial radio broadcast in 1933 on KSL in Salt Lake City.
Were you a radio actor and announcer?
Mm-hmm.
How many years on Gunsmoke?
10, a little over 10 on the radio Gunsmoke.
Did you do lots of other parts, too?
Not on Gunsmoke, but on other shows.
I mean, you appeared a lot on shows.
Oh, yes. Thank heaven.
They had to be wonderful days.
They were. Weren't they, boys? Yes, indeed. Those, they were halcyon days for all of us, and I think the ideal medium for an actor, that if there were 10 million people listening, if there are 10 million people listening, you're giving 10 million different performances, and that's Valhalla.
Richard Dreyfuss also said that it may be difficult where all you have is the voice. You don't have actors' movements and the like.
Oh, I don't agree with that. Do you guys?
No, I think it's more visual than television.
You were
You
there.
leave that up to your audience.
That's right. And it was just as exciting as a stage appearance. I think those old Lux radio theaters and those audience shows, you could build up a head of steam on those, like Les on First Nighter for so many years. Those were, you were right there. You were on Broadway with that show.
I had a head of steam on that show for 10 years.
Yeah, that's right.
Daws, how did you get started?
Well, I started out in Chicago when I was about 17, 18, in nightclubs doing impersonations and comedy with two other guys. We were called the Three Short Waves. Radio was very big then. And the funny part of it is that was the one part in my career where I did physical things with an audience, and I learned timing, I think, just from those few years where I was doing a George Arliss, and I screwed up my face to look like him in the body and the whole thing. I was doing George Arliss then, as old as I am now, you know. And, Joey Brown, and I had a whole raft of things, but I was almost learning by watching and listening and parsing all these great people that I admired, and it was my university, it was my acting college.
How'd you get into radio?
Well, after I never did much radio in Chicago. I was enthralled by it. I mean, Vic and Sade, I'd go down and watch the show in the Merchandise Mart, and I loved it, but I never was very much involved. And when I came out here after the war, I just went around like everybody else and left your name with the agencies, and within a year or so, I was lucky enough to get on shows like the CBS Workshop and not Dragnet, but all the big dramatic shows. And
how did that lead to Huckleberry Hound and Yogi Bear?
Well, I was doing a lot of character stuff. In those days, before the union was strong, they could get you for as many parts as you could do, so I was cheap. I could walk in and do like 6 characters, all different, and then I realized that it wasn't my talent, it was the availability.
It was your talent.
Well, not quite.
But anyway, I was doing a lot of things, and I always loved comedy, and I guess was pretty good at it. And then I went out to Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer and met Tex Avery, who was like my god of all animation directors. And I got my first job in a cartoon from him. I just called him up and said I'd like to audition, and I must have gotten in a room and ad-libbed for about a half an hour, everything I could think of, just anything. And he called me the next day for my first job, and that's how I got in SAG. And then from there on, I've done about 15 or more things for Tex, which I'm very proud of.
Including
and then through that, I
voiceovers.
met Joe and Bill, you know.
And voiceovers and cartoons.
And voiceovers and cartoons, yeah.
Les Tremayne will enter the panel in a moment. We have to take a break. Our guests are Parley Baer, Daws Butler, and Les Tremayne. One beautiful aspect of this is that no matter how old we get, the voice stays terrific.
Live from the studios of KFI in Los Angeles, this is The Larry King Show. Here again, Larry King.
We're going to have a lot of fun here with Parley Baer, who is Chester on Gunsmoke. All these are veterans of radio drama and comedy. Daws Butler, the voices of Huckleberry Hound and Yogi Bear, work with Stan Freberg. And we are now joined by the great Les Tremayne, who, how many years?
Oh, God, it makes me feel so old talking about this stuff.
Where did you start?
I started in London, where I was born at the age of 3. With
You
my
were
mother.
born at the age of 3?
I was born at the age of 3.
You thought that for a lot of years. What
My
brought
mother
you-
was in motion pictures, and I started in pictures over there. And we came to this country, and I did theater around the country. I did little theater, I did stock, I did, oh God, name it. I did some burlesque.
What took you to radio?
Somebody said, "You've got a good voice and you're a fine actor, and why don't you try radio?" And I almost said, "What's that?" You know, I started in radio in 30, and as Daws mentioned a few minutes ago, there was no union in those days. You could play as many parts as you wished, you know, and the more you played, the better they liked you.
So you did everything.
Yeah.
What did
Did
you
it
do
all.
on the Jack Armstrong show?
I was Coach Hardy
Ah, yes.
and Judge somebody. It was a weird thing. Don Amici was the big man in Chicago in those days. He was a pretty good-sized name when I started out in the business. And I followed Don in 5 different parts on 4 different shows, ending up with the First Nighter, which was, I guess, my ID point, because it's the first thing people remember about me. And when you didn't mention it in introducing me,
Well, I
really
you know, I'll
stopped
tell you
me
something.
short,
We're
you
going
know?
to play a part of it, but I just know the name Les Tremayne.
Yeah.
Your name was the most identifiable. Your name was often mentioned, Les Tremayne, your announcer. And so I knew that name very well, and I associate with I Love a Mystery.
I did I Love a Mystery in radio back in the 40s, but I was not I wasn't Jack, Doc, or Reggie. I did various parts on the show.
First night you were the announcer.
No,
The
I was
lead?
the romantic leading man for about 10 years. And I'm the man who always got the girl. Now, Larry, come on.
Mr. You
Wow,
guys.
Who was it? Ann
Barbara Letty.
Barbaretti
Barbara Letty was the leading lady.
and Ann Seymour?
Ann Seymour was my leading lady on Grand Hotel,
Oh.
which preceded First Nighter.
Now, you guys, do you not, Daws, have an organization out here? Old-time radio folk, you get together?
Oh, Smurtback, yeah.
What's it called?
Spurtback. I can't break it down, but that's what it is. Can you-
Society for the Prevention, isn't it, Larry?
Preservation.
The preservation and elongation of
No.
radio, drama,
Society
variety,
Comedy.
and
Society for the
Comedy.
Preservation of Entertainment in Radio, Drama, Variety, and Comedy, right?
well, you've got several versions there. So
How
Yeah.
many members? How many guys and girls out here?
I don't know, Larry Gassman is the president. How many there? 1,000.
1,000
And then
members.
there's another organization called the Pacific Pioneer Broadcasters that we just recently celebrated our, 21st?
our 21st anniversary.
And you had to be in some of the broadcasting, some aspect of broadcasting for 20 years before you could get in, and we're
It
all
was 20
charter
years,
members.
20 years in radio and 10 years in television. when
Everybody
they started,
of any stature at all, and a lot of people who really didn't make it, but who have been in the business for a long time are members. We have over 800 members.
Gee, I'm eligible.
Well, sure.
I'm getting on.
You should
Pioneer
join. It
Broadcasting.
really is. It's
I
a
will be glad to
wonderful-
put you up if you'd like to join.
I'll be a
I'm-
pioneer.
We have more
I'm
than
one of
800,
the
don't we?
original 17 founders, so
Well, it would
we
be an
can-
honor to
we
be
can take care of you.
in your company. The voice does not go, does it, Parley?
Nah.
I mean, we
No.
get older and you...
I sounded just as raspy 40 years ago as
Yeah.
I do now.
What was Chester's voice?
About like this.
You kept him like that?
You know, Daws said a little while ago he played 6 parts on a show. Well, I used to too, except mine all sounded alike and his were all different. I said, what do you want? You can either have Chester or the other one. I played a lot of different parts, but never all at once. Chester was an easygoing guy who really sounded quite a bit like I do.
Mhm, sure.
He got his verbs a little mixed up occasionally, but I think his identifying thing was, Mr. Dillon, what we going to do now?
That's right.
Gunsmoke was the last of the major radio dramas, right? Wasn't that?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think
Because
so.
it lasted into the 50s.
No, it started in the 50s. It started in 52, And we were on the air until the middle of '62. We did, I think it was 538.
And the guy who played the lead was
William Conrad.
William Conrad,
who
one of the great
later-
voices of all
Yes,
time.
he played, then he did Cannon.
Cannon.
And then he did Nero Wolfe. And now he's on the Supper Club and Collegiate circuit. He's playing, he just recently finished Fiddler on the Roof. He played in the Mikado and Paint Your Wagon.
Gee.
And he's
Keeps busy.
yes, he does.
Dawes Butler, give us, the man of many voices, give us, just for reminiscence sake, we're going to hear the Stan Freberg thing in a moment,
Yeah.
the Huckleberry Hound voice.
Okay, I wanted to say something in regard to what Parley had said. This idea of doing double voices, I'm a writer too, and it's like a schizophrenic breakdown. In other words, you have two characters going for each other. For instance, if I had Huck talking to Yogi Bear, for instance, he'd say, I want to talk to Yogi Bear because, he's a friend of mine, and I hate to take precedence. That's all right, yeah. Who cares if you take precedence? Just don't take my picnic baskets, yeah. Well, I wouldn't do that because, I got a split in my brain. Now, it's me over here playing Huck, and it's me over here playing Yogi Bear. Yeah. You see? But it's easy. I mean, it's always been easy for me since I was a kid that as long as I have the identity of the character, it isn't a voice, it's a character. People say, how many voices do you do? And I say, not voices. There are only a few voices like notes, but there are a million characters and the gradations of them and so forth.
Do you still do work less? Do you do commercials?
I do a lot of voice work. I don't do much on-camera stuff anymore. I know what I look like, and I would just prefer not to go through the hassle that we have to go through with wardrobe, makeup, learning lines, props, all the business that we have all done for 50-some years,
If you'd like to talk to three of the radio greats, we'll take some calls starting at the bottom of the hour. We're going to play a little bit of Daws Butler in action here with Stan Freberg. Explain how you got hooked up with Stan.
Well, we did a puppet show for 5 years in KTLA here called Time for Beanie. Stan did a sea serpent called Cecil the Seasick Sea Serpent. Very funny character. One of the great things in Stan's career.
And I was Beanie. I was a kid. I got one kid voice, but I switch it to fit whoever their name is.
And so we did that for 5 years with puppets standing up next to each other. Stan was 6'1" or something. I was 5'2". I had to wear boots, combat boots, to get up to be a little equal with him. And so we did this, and that's why I met Stan, and we worked together for 5 years. It was like a university. I mean, the two of us, ad-libbing, interpolating.
Were you a regular on his radio show?
Oh, yeah.
And he did parodies on that radio show. The one we're
Parodies?
going to hear now is of Arthur Godfrey.
That's
I'm
right.
playing on time here, so set this up for me. This
Yeah,
is...
well, oh wait, we did this thing. In fact, we wanted to make a record out of it, and Godfrey gave his permission, but Ed Sullivan, whom I was doing on the other side, was a little offended. I was the first one, I think, to do Ed Sullivan. And anyway, we didn't do it. So we have some of these outtakes, and that's what you're going to hear.
This is from an old Stan Freberg radio show with Stan and Daws Butler.
In the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia, on the trail of the lonesome pine, well, Hawaii, 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 gee whiz, it's a nice day.
That's right, Arthur.
Well, you look like you had a good night's sleep, lad.
That's right, Arthur.
It's a pretty tie you're wearing.
That's right, Arthur. That's right, Arthur.
Oh, I just cleared my throat is all. Say, I was over to the Douglas factory the other day. They had a 1-cent sale. You buy one DC-3 for $100,000, you get the other one for a penny. I think you folks can still get in on it if you hurry right over.
That's right, Arthur.
Say, how about a tune from Frank? You want to sing, Frank?
Yes, I do, and my name is Frank.
Oh, it's Frank as far as I'm concerned.
Frank.
Say, guess who I had warming up in the audition pen this morning?
Who?
Morton Downey.
Call me Frank.
Okay, all those in the cast who want to see my new Honolulu movies, hold up your leg irons.
There isn't time, Arthur. The program's almost over.
Oh, what a shame. Well, I think I got time for one joke. You see this ukulele? I bought it with no strings attached. What's that? What's that noise?
It was me, Arthur. I was drinking a glass of noodle soup when you told that last joke. I wasn't able to laugh in time, so I did the next best thing. I goggled.
Say, that's thinking on your feet. Only the quick thinkers stay with me. Hey, you with the freckles, you're fired. Oh, that's me. I'm looking in the mirror.
That's right, Arthur.
We'll see you Monday, folks. If you want to have some fun over a weekend, get out and build your own airstrip. It's more fun than a barrel of monkeys.
Sing it, Arthur.
In the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia, on a trail of the lonesome pine.
Some terrific parody, and all the voices there, Freeberg doing Arthur, and all the others Daws. We're going to hear samples of other work, too, from Les and from Parley, and take your phone calls. We're going to hear Les now from I Love a Mystery. This is you and Mercedes McCambridge, right?
This is going to be the first time I've heard it, too.
It's been that long ago.
I had
How
no
long?
idea. Larry, how could you do this?
I'll give you the date you did this, okay?
Yeah.
Because was given me by your group, Snurse Crack.
Oh,
This was December 29th, 1949. Les Tremayne and Mercedes McCambridge on I Love a Mystery.
out of New York.
Sonny,
Yes, Phil.
why shouldn't you know who this killer is? Like the rest of them.
Well, I don't know.
I think it's a dirty shame holding out on you.
Oh, Phil, I don't know what you mean.
It's very simple, Sonny. I think you ought to know. So I'm going to tell you.
You're going to tell me.
That's right. If I wasn't a bedridden cripple, I wouldn't have time to tell you because I'd be making my getaway.
Phil, what do you say?
But the way things are, there's no possible chance for
Oh,
escape.
Phil, stop talking like that.
Sure, I'm the guy. I'm the leader of the mob. It was a mighty good mob, too, until them 3 Boy Scouts busted in here.
Phil, it isn't true.
Sure, it's true. I've been head of the mob for 3 years, and after I was hurt, I kept right on being head of the mob.
Why did you do this to me? What did I ever do to you that you should surround me with murder and horror?
You don't know why.
No.
Well, then I'll tell you why. When I woke up in this hospital and saw I was never going to have you, I made up my mind right then that nobody else was going to have you either.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
And that still goes, see?
Phil, where did you get that gun?
I've been saving it. I knew this would happen sometime. I've been saving it.
For me?
That's right. If I can't have you, no one else is going to have you either.
From I Love a Mystery. In a wheelchair, he led the mob. And
sounds
Mercedes
fair.
is still doing that quivering voice, isn't she?
Yes.
Scared me.
We're also going to hear an example here of Parley Baer. Now, Parley, this is not from Gunsmoke. This is from Granby's Green Acres. What was this?
That was a summertime replacement that Gail Gordon and Bea Benedart, Louise Erickson, and Rye Billsbury, who was Mr. First Nighter after you left, didn't you? After
Yeah, he was in Chicago, and
Yeah.
the show stayed there.
and he
after
played. He and Louise Erickson played the romantic interest.
And you played?
Ebb, the hired man.
Okay, we're going to hear now Parley Baer as Ebb in 1950 on Granby's Green Acres.
Let me see. Put my hands here. A little further forward. I know. I pull down like this. She's empty.
No, she ain't empty. You ain't doing it right. When you pull down, you move your fingers like this. See?
Show off.
Now you try.
Okay.
Gently. You ain't pulling taffy.
Boy, it sounded wonderful. And those television can never capture what radio had, can it?
I think it all went with the eyes. You got
Yeah.
this great eye contact and
Theater
you
of the
got
mind.
so much support. I think there was more love in radio than any other media. I mean, you loved your partner because between the two of you, you were going to be good.
Did you all dress up in front of the studio audience? I mean, were you dressed in your finery?
We
and all
did on
that?
the First Nighter, white tie and tails.
Yeah.
White tie and tails.
Yeah.
It was classic.
We had an
So did
audience.
you?
We had an audience in the theater.
Let's take some phone calls. For Parley Baer, Daws Butler, and Les Tremayne, we go to St. Paul, Minnesota. Hello.
Well, the voice you just heard Parley Baer doing on that one was actually what Chester sounded like on Gunsmoke.
I suppose it was. It was the other one.
Yeah.
I'm an old-time radio buff, and I think that Gunsmoke is the finest continuing radio drama I ever heard by far. Nothing even close. And my questions, I have one for all three of you, which is how do you feel when people have the old-time radio shows and play back these things? A lot of people are miffed about it because they want to get paid, or they want to forget about it, or they just want it to go away. And the other thing I want to ask Parley was the rumor that was circulating for years that William Conrad was ticked about the fact that he wasn't chosen as TV's Matt Dillon.
All right, let's move to the first. How do you feel about nostalgia playing your old tapes?
I see nothing wrong with it. To quote Hal Perry, who was the great Gildersleeve, he said, "What the heck? It keeps us alive."
Do you see anything wrong with it, Daws?
No, I don't really think so.
Think you should be paid?
Well, if it would work out to be paid, but it's nice to have it alive, to have a freshness, to have a continuity.
There's a lot of stations doing it.
Yeah, of course.
Parley, you'll enjoy it?
No, it's nice to know that people don't think we're dead.
Was Conrad ticked that he didn't get the TV?
Well, we were all a little annoyed, in all honesty. The first we heard about it was in the trade papers. And we had been led to believe by the agency, a very fine man by the name of Jonathan Yost. We were sponsored at that time by L&M. And he led us to believe that we were in the running. And then we found out that we weren't. And finally, I think due to his offices, they threw a sop our way and auditioned Bill and Howard McNair, who played Doc, and me. And it had already been set. I'm sure it had. And Bill was pretty mad. He said, "I'm going to go down and see that those blighters had some tape in those machines." And he went down because the day after we made our test, they announced the cast, and we were all, I think, miffed is a gentle way.
Well, that can hurt.
Pretty sure. Bill and I had an ad lib on there. He said I had a line as sure as, and he would just let me flounder sometimes. And he had named me Chester. The first show we did, I was just Townsman, and Bill, in his direct way, said, "Norman, I can't say, 'Hey, Townsman, come here, I want to talk to you.'" So he named me Chester. And on this show, when he just let me flounder a little bit in the rehearsal, I said, "As sure as," and he just stopped. I said, "As sure as my name is Chester Wesley Proudfoot." And Bill stopped. He said, "Where did that come from?" I said, "I don't know. Pick up your cues and we won't get into these dilemmas." And so it became Chester Proudfoot. But when they changed it over to TV, they changed his name to Chester Good. And Hal Hudson, who was the man there, and Harry Ackerman were talking about it, and they said they changed his name to Good so that I would have no opportunity for a plagiarism suit. And I said, "Well, I trust CBS even if they don't trust me."
Was the transition to television difficult, Les, for the radio people?
No, I maintain if you're an actor in one medium, you're an actor in any medium.
Yeah.
You may not be as handsome as Cary Grant, or you may not be as great a dancer as someone else. But if you have talent, you have talent, and you should not allow the medium to restrict you in any way.
We'll take some more phone calls for our three veterans of the war of the radio games, Parley Baer, Daws Butler, and Les Tremayne. We go to Oakland, California. Hello.
Hi, I have a couple of questions I'd like to ask Daws. Daws, were you with Stan Freberg on his parody of the Banana Boat song?
No, that was Peter Leeds. I did St. George and the Dragonette. We did a takeoff on the McCarthy hearings. We did a thing. We did about 4 or 5 records. We did one on Carney and Gleason. The honey. What do you call it? The Honey Earthers. That's right. And we did a lot of stuff.
Second question.
Let's see. Oh, how long were Huckleberry Hound and Yogi Bear on the air?
Well, they were on for about 5 years, starting about 1959, and we did Yogi Bear. Huckleberry Hound was the first show, then Yogi Bear, then Quick Draw McGraw, and all half-hour shows, all in prime time, around 7:30. So we were on for about, I'd say, 5 or 6 years. And
thank you very much. Were you a Quick Draw McGraw too?
Quick Draw.
Howdy,
I am Quick Draw McGraw.
Baba Louie, too. Don't forget Baba Louie.
Baba Louie.
Baba Louie, I was him too, you know that.
You were him on Quick Draw McGraw. I love that.
I was there, I was me, you know. I was looking around, I was little.
But I was big and I was dumb.
We go to Queens, New York. Hello.
Delightful, Larry. Delightful.
Thank you.
Les.
Yes.
He did a show for about 8 or 9 years, which I know I enjoyed listening to. Woman in My House.
Yes,
You played Jeff.
that's right.
And, of course, that was a Carton Morse production. I always got a feeling it was like a generation removed from one man's family.
That's very astute because that's exactly what it was. What was the lead character named Jack? In Jack, Doc, and Reggie, Mike Raffetto. He also played the main character in One Man's Family.
Man's Family, right. The
That-
older...
Paul.
Paul. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Jeff was Paul. Only Jeff was in Woman in My House. That's right.
Might you guys do 4 shows in one day?
I did
More than
45 shows a week for 3 years solid in Chicago.
Running around from show to show.
45 shows a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Used to have to bribe the ushers to let you in the fire exits, didn't you?
Gosh, yes.
Unbelievable. Thank you. We go to Houston, Texas with Parley Baer, Daws Butler, and Les Tremayne. Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Oh, okay, I believe... Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. We're sorry. Do we have a next call? We go to Northbrook, Illinois. Hello.
Hello, I have a couple of questions for Parley Baer.
Sure.
I'd like to know what year he moved from Chicago.
I never lived in Chicago. I played there. I used to go back there for the Shrine Circus every year.
I know you...
For about 25 years.
That's
and
right.
I-
Wait a minute. Patrick Duffy told us you were a ringmaster.
That's right. For many years. Patrick told you that?
He told me that in the first hour.
And a lion tamer,
Yeah.
too.
Oh, boy.
Tell me, Parley Baer, are you going to be at the Shrine Convention in L.A. this year? My father would love to see you again.
No, who is this?
My dad is Ron Lejeune from...
Oh, my stars and garters. No, when is it going to be here, the Shrine Convention?
The 30th of June it starts, goes through the 4th of July.
Well, I'm sure going to be here, and have him get in touch with me when he's out here.
Thank you very much. Will you do a circus thing for us?
Well, I don't do it in the traditional ringmaster.
No, you don't do ladies?
No, that went out with the advent of the
Microphone.
The microphone, yes. I do a very circumspect. My theory is that the ringmaster should be heard to introduce the acts, and any flamboyancy that comes is purely incidental.
So you did it straight?
Yes, I use words probably a little more flamboyant speech than I would in ordinary, but it's generally, ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, we welcome you to the 1986 edition of Pollock Brothers Shrine Circus.
That's very good.
Yeah.
We go to Berkeley, Michigan. Hello.
Hello, I wanted to tell Parley that I have him in an old radio show, Romance, with Virginia Gregg and Hans Conried, and it was called The Man from Space. I don't know, do you remember that?
Yes, indeed I do. I don't think that any actor alive could forget ever working with Hans Conried or Virginia Gregg. They're two of the greatest talents that ever graced our nation's airwaves.
Absolutely.
Great show.
Thank you very much. Do you guys miss that? Do you miss the era? Do you miss working?
Oh, we missed the
yeah.
camaraderie as much as anything else.
There were,
You did it, you know, when you'd walk into a show, you'd say, my God, there's Hans, or one of the others, and you'd say, I hope I have a scene with him. You know,
we
it
lived
was
with these
exciting.
people we worked with more than we did with our family.
It was much closer than television people.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, you get.
And
Dawes
there were
and I
no
were talking-
retakes. There were no retakes. You just did it.
Yeah, well, you betcha.
Dawes and I were talking about this earlier this evening, that if you didn't see someone during the week, then you called to see what it was about. We knew each other's problems. We knew when each other's kids had an epizootic or whatever it was, and if our wives were ill, it was very close. It was really a family.
It wasn't that we didn't take it seriously and work hard on a part, but I think you'll agree, we did have a little more time to fraternize than you would in a picture or in the theater even.
Well, we'd go out to eat together,
That's right.
and if you were doing 2 shows, you'd go between shows.
You didn't have to learn all them lines.
No.
Well, and you had like 4 hours to do something, and by that time you did a fully realized show.
Sure. And then
and you did wood shedding, and you'd get one of your partners. We had a good scene. You'd say, "Let's go over this again," and you'd find little things to do, and the director would buy it, and it was a living thing. It was like it was very exciting for that show. You were going to make it the greatest thing you ever did. You know?
It was our oyster.
That's right. And if you went to slop the hogs, you got mud on you.
That's right.
Three of the greats when radio was king. Parley Baer of Gunsmoke, Daws Butler, Huckleberry Hound, Yogi Bear, Stan Freberg, Les Tremayne. He did it all. First Nighter, Mr. First Nighter, I Love a Mystery, and hundreds of credits in this crew. We go to Portsmouth, Virginia. Hello.
Good morning, Larry. It's nice to talk to you. Larry, you got somebody there that I worship. I don't know what the name is, but before they came out with TV, I used to sit by my radio and listen to Jack Armstrong, and my favorite show was I Love a Mystery. It was Doc, Reggie, and Margot, I think. Is that right?
Jack, Doc, and Reggie.
Jack, yeah, but I'll tell you what, that was without a doubt one of the finest shows. It was better than being on TV.
Thank you very much. I Love a Mystery, right?
Yeah.
And Jack Armstrong, have you tried? We go to Ann Arbor, Michigan. Hello.
Hello. I'd like to know where they got the name Yogi, as in Yogi Bear.
Oh, I think it was just for Yogi Bear. I don't think Yogi Bear ever bought it, and I can't blame him. But that's where they got it.
Thank you very much. I didn't get the next city, Pat. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Hello. Pittsburgh. Hello.
I have.
Okay.
Hello.
Pittsburgh. Hello. See how quickly
Parley Baer?
Pittsburgh faked in the night.
I
Our guests are Parley Baer, Daws Butler, and Les Tremayne. Did you have a favorite show? Was Gunsmoke yours?
Well, I think the favorite show was whatever you were doing at the moment, really. But I was very partial to Gunsmoke. You do something for over 10 years, but it was wonderful. I did those Websters. I did one of Stanberg's series called That's Rich. Remember you played the character Rich?
I played the Southern guy. I was Hugh McHugh. That's
right. And then I did the Count of Monte Cristo for a long time. We were lucky. God blessed us really, because you start counting up your credits. Remember the name of Art Ronnie did a little story on me some time back, and he said I toted up over 8,500 radio shows on you, and if I did that many, Les did 15,000.
Oh, you did many more than that, because I touted them up not too long ago, and it came to over 30,000 radio shows.
Did you have a favorite character, Daws?
Yeah, well, one of my favorite characters is on a commercial. I've been doing Captain Crunch for about 20 years.
You're Captain Crunch?
I'm Captain Crunch, and he's like a combination of stupidity and sincerity. He's kind of in the middle,
Captain Crunch!
And I just love that character. I did some a couple of weeks ago, and I don't know what it is. My whole body, you can see that I am now Captain Crunch. The hand, if you tied my hands behind my back, I couldn't do it.
Les, did you have a favorite?
Well, of course, the First Nighter show did more for me than anything else I ever did in radio.
Les Tremayne, Mr. First Nighter.
Yes.
Another one I liked, because Bill Scott died not too long ago, and I loved him very dearly. And we did a show, June Foray, Bill Scott and I, for Jay Ward, called Fractured Fairy Tales and Aesop and Son. And they were some of the most brilliant pieces of writing material. Bill did a lot of it, and I never knew what I was going to do, and Jay was a wonder. He would never let us really look at the script. We know we were going to do 5 parts, but he'd say, just read it. So we'd make up our thing as we got to the next page, have to grab onto a character, And with these 3 people, it was like jazz. It was just one of the most delightful experiences of my life. I think that's one of the highlights. And Tex Avery, too.
You listen to radio now, guys?
Oh, sure.
Like it?
Yes.
I listen to the news.
Yeah. I wish we did more. A couple of years ago when we were doing Sears Radio Theater that Elliot Lewis.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Lewis did. We did it. And I have a favorite little character that I like to do. I do the voice of Ernie Keebler on the Cookie.
Oh, yeah. It's a great character.
Oh, you're the Keebler Cookie?
Yeah.
Give me his voice. What does he say?
Hello, Mama. Did you like that last batch?
Unless you're doing commercials?
Yeah, I do commercials. I do voiceover stuff. I do documentaries,
All your voices have stayed so strong. It's really
I see
amazing.
no rean why they shouldn't. As a matter of fact, they should stay strong because they have been constantly exercised all our lives.
There's a little mahogany now.
Yeah, it's like an old violin.
Thank you all.
Now and then
Sorry about that.
Thank you all very much. Our guests, Parley Baer. I guess if we counted up all the shows these guys have done together, we'd have to hit 100,000. Parley Baer was Chester on Gunsmoke. Daws Butler, the voices of Huckleberry Hound, Yogi Bear.
Captain Crunch,
Captain Crunch.
Don't leave me out. I get very, very upset,
And the great Les Tremayne from Mr. First Nighter and I Love a Mystery, the old Jack Armstrong show. I'll venture into The great days of radio, the radio of yesterday.